Harmy, let's talk about the T20 World Cup, in particular the final. As I said, it doesn't make us great predictors. It makes us experts in the bleeding obvious when we said that it was India's tournament to lose. Um, but boy, oh boy, the top three all made 50. Sanju Samson matched his 89 against England off just 46 balls. That really was an exhibition of T20 batting. That Ishan Kishan 54 off 25. Abhishek Sharma came good. Fastest 50 in the tournament off 18 balls. 255 for five. And that included a 16th over, which brought Jimmy Neesham three wickets and just one run. Yeah, I thought they were going to make 280. It was remarkable, and it was interesting. Michael Vaughan amongst for several people saying that pitches shouldn't be that flat, and there's no contest between bat and ball. But you know what? If that's what the market wants, Harmy, if that's what the people want, then watch Coronation Street if you don't
Yeah,
like it.
yeah. If you don't like it, a test match should be a good contest between bat and ball. I think a red ball game should be a really good contest over 5 days. Disintegration of pitches. It should be a good contest between bat and ball with all the elements that go in. I've always believed T20 cricket should be entertainment. It should be entertainment. From a bowler's point of view, if you're hung up on going for 10 and over or more, I mean, you've bowled well if you go for 10 and over or less in the modern day game. And I think that, for me, it's about the entertainment. This is what T20's brought. This is what the hundreds brought. It's about a new audience from 2002 onwards. And I think the audience of cricket has been, double, trebled, maybe more since the invention of 2020 cricket. So to see sixes and fours hit, it's stating the obvious that it's probably gone too far in that last game. But at the end of the day, I'd much rather watch a game of T20 cricket with entertainment, 180 to 220, rather than a 110 or 130 on a sticky dog pitch. I think I want to be entertained. When I go and watch a T20 cricket, I want to see batters hit the ball out of the park for one reason and one reason alone, is that's what I've gone for. I've gone to be entertained. And I think if you haven't been entertained in this tournament, you've got a pretty high bar because there's been some good moments. I don't think it's been a brilliant tournament. I think it was an excellent tournament as the matches went on. We've seen a good game between the West Indies and India, which was more or less a quarter final. We've seen two semi-finals which were highly scoring runs, and the final was a mismatch, but still we were entertained from a runs point of view. But you'll always have world-class bowlers, and the world-class bowlers will stand up and show why they're world-class when you've got a pitch which is completely flat and the ball's going to all parts, and you will have that world-class bowler who stands apart, and that was Jasper Bumrah. He was amazing. He was amazing in the semi-final. He was amazing in the final. And, if you've got that quality, you shouldn't lose many games on flat pitches, because his four overs will not arguably win you the game. Because I think the Abhishek Sharma Sanju Samson partnership was the one that largely won the game for India. But I'd much rather be entertained when the ball's going out of the park than a damp wicket where 130 is a good score over 20 overs.
It's very interesting. Just a brief word about South Africa, who, of course, beat New Zealand by 7 wickets with 17 balls to spare in the group games, and then walloped India by 76 runs in the Super 8 stages, and then got absolutely, in the words of their coach, snot clapped, which is a particular South Africanism in the semi-final. But that can happen between these two teams. South Africa beat the two finalists and then got absolutely drummed in the semi-final, and the final was also similarly one-sided. When the ball starts to roll downhill in this format, it gathers speed pretty quickly, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. When you gather in snow, it'll be like me going downhill. I tell you. It was ridiculous. But again, it showed you the great run chase England had, and the credit that must go to the likes of Jacob Bethel in England, giving it a good go to get it as close as England got it. You either win them games chasing 220 above by think England did it in 2016 by, I think, just 2 wickets down, 3 wickets down. So, look, it is one of them ones where when you get on a roll, it is difficult to stop. But I think it was Owen Morgan said India had been the best team in this tournament. I disagree with that. I think South Africa were the best team in this tournament. I think India were the best moment team. The won the best moments. I don't think they were that convincing in the group stages. And then as they went on, they won the moments. I mean, that was an effective quarter-final. They were out if they got beat off the West Indies, or I struggled against the West Indies. So they did well, like all good sides do, like England did. England's not as good a side as what India are. But if you can find a way to win when you're not playing well, you've always got a great chance if you've got big moment players. That's what India did. That's what England did to get to the semi-final. And I think South Africa are probably the more consistent throughout the tournament, apart from that one game where Finn Allen just had a day out, and that can happen in T20 cricket. But I think winning the big moments, handling the pressure, and delivering when the utmost pressure is on at home, I thought India did that better than anybody else.
Okay, 2 more points to ask you, but first of all, let's hear a little soundbite from Surya Kumar Yadav, the captain, and coach Gautam Gambhir.
Obviously, very excited the way things have gone since 2024. The way we've played, we won 3 ICC trophies in a row. I think that drought ended in 2024 after a really long time, and from there we never looked back. We knew how we wanted to play going forward. Everything was changed post 2024. We played a different brand of cricket in 2024, and from there we understood how this team needs to work forward, play forward, and it's been a wonderful journey since then. He won a ICC Champions Trophy in 2025. Played completely different brand of cricket, and now in 2026 we wanted to do something special in front of home crowd. So we want to continue doing that 27, 28, 29 and never stop.
Milestones don't matter. It's the trophies that matter. For too long in Indian cricket, we've spoken about milestones. And I hope till I'm there, we're not going to talk about milestones. You can see it very easily as well. You can see it in the last 3 games what Sanju did. 97 not out, 89, 88. Imagine if he would have been playing for a milestone. Probably we wouldn't have got 250. So I think this is for you guys as well. Stop celebrating milestones, celebrate trophies. That is going to be important, because the bigger purpose of a team sport is to be winning trophies, not scoring individual runs. It has never mattered to me, and it will never matter to me. And I think, actually, I've been very fortunate that Surya and me were on the same page, especially on this front.
That's Indian captain Surya Kumar Yadav and coach Gautam Gambhir. Gambhir, of course, became the first man to win the T20 World Cup as a player and a coach. He was top scorer in the inaugural edition for India in 2007 in South Africa. So changing the mindset, Surya Kumar Yadav talks about there with Virat and Rohit Sharma retiring. They certainly, picking guys like Abhishek Sharma. I mean, it's a really caution to the wind kind of approach, Harmy. And it's very difficult to see. I mean, we're used to the cyclical nature of sport. There are ups and downs, and it can be a roller coaster ride. But it is quite difficult, given the IPL and everything, and seeing India not continuing to have this conveyor belt of brilliant T20 cricketers. I mean, that could be the end of the contest as we know it for the next couple of decades.
It is if they keep having it in India as well. So, I mean, not only have they got one of the best teams in the world and the best talent pool in the world, they've actually have it in their own back garden. So there's not much not going for India at this stage with the BCCI as powerful, if not more powerful, than what the ICC is. It was interesting that I enjoyed that from Gambia. I thought it was a dig. I thought it was a little dig at Rohit and at Virat, talking about not interested in milestones, about team winning. It's about a team. I like that. I sometimes struggle with Gautam. I did struggle with Gautam as a player, and I sometimes struggle with him as a coach. But I like that. I like that little dig. We might have everything going in our favour, but it's about the team. It's about the dressing room, and it's not about individual milestones. And that, I thought that was a little bit of a dig at Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli. So it'll be interesting when they walk back into the 50-over dressing room in the not too distant future, here and that. So saying that, he's got some kudos because he's just won a trophy. But yeah, I mean, that that in itself, Manners, I think when you look at it, that's why it's so important that we get our house in order, as in our domestic structure in order. What Anthony McGrath said last week to us was brilliant. Got a lot of traction. A lot of people from around the world enjoyed what Anthony said, and all he was a simple. It was a simple thing. It was, let's stop fighting with each other. Let's stop having a go at county cricket, and let's work with each other. Because you know what, the IPL come around in 2008, the best tournament in the world, the richest tournament in the world, and now India are the best team in the world at 50 over, more or less the best team in the world at 50 over competition. They're definitely the best team in the world at 20 over competition. If we can get that 100 in the next 5 to 10 years, when it eventually goes to a T20 competition, so we have the blast, we have the 100, and that talent pool there, if we work together, we will have a very, very strong pool of players to pick from for England. If we are singing from the same sheet, like what Anthony Mag said last week. And I think that's what India have done. And that's why they're brilliant at this format of the game. I think that's a message to the ECB to say, right, whatever we do with 100, we can't do anything about the format at this moment in time. But if we can eventually get it to T20 competition and we have the blast, we have the big pool playing, fighting to get into the little pool. And then the little pool is where we're going to get our England players from. If we get that right, we'll have a very, very good international T20 and 50 over side for years to come. If we keep fighting with each other and we don't think it's very good, then all of a sudden we'll keep getting to semi-finals, keep not being that team that just not quite gets there. And I think is what I would take away from India being the best white ball team in the world at this moment in time, because their competition is to, and it's shown that their pool of players now, since that IPL has started, is ridiculous. And I think that's something the ECB have got to get it right.
You made England sound like they're bridesmaids there, which is a bit harsh, because you're stealing the thunder from New Zealand and South Africa, who are world champion bridesmaids. And they just can't get the job done. New Zealand have reached 12 semi-finals in 19 ICC global events since 2007. That's a phenomenal record. South Africa not so good. Do you know that South Africa have had 15 knockout games since the infamous 92 World Cup and their return to international cricket? 15 knockout games. They've won 3 of them. And one was a quarter-final against Sri Lanka in Australia in Sydney in 2015. That is evidently a problem for them. But let's talk about New Zealand.
But would you say that the SA20 is in its infancy? It's only a couple of years old. Well, are you seeing in domestic cricket? You're in South Africa. Are you seeing in domestic cricket and then in the SA20 that there are players coming out of nowhere to make and push South African white ball cricket to a better level?
I think so. I think that'll happen. I think it's almost inevitable. I mean, the point is that they didn't freeze. They very often they lose. They're brave and bold and incisive and do everything right in group games, and then freeze. Well, 2 left-handers, Quinton de Kock and Ryan Rickleton, got out to the good part-time off-spinner, Cole McConkey, in the second over. But they got out attacking. The old South Africa would have patted 6 balls into the covers, for fear of getting out to him. But at least they took him on. Yeah, that's right. So congratulations to India. It's just a shame that the great. I think it's a great team, and I've written and said I think it's probably the best T20 team of all time as a squad. This 15-man squad in Indian conditions, I have to say. But Harmy, it's just a shame, isn't it, that the game has been so politicized. And I mean, we forget about the millions, the hundreds of millions of Indians for whom this is life-changing. It provides an almost endless source of joy in what is a difficult difficult life in a difficult country for many of them, and it should be about them, not about the money and not about Jay Shah and the BCCI and the politics and the relationship with Pakistan and all those things that we get distracted by. I think we should just remember how many hundreds of millions of people, and we've met you. You've met a few million yourself. Signed
Yeah,
autographs for them. You remember what it means
absolutely.
to them?
100% agree with you, Manas. And I mean, pushing you towards another podcast, but our great friend Harsha Bogle, who we've worked with the last couple of Indian tours, I think he sums it up best, exactly what you've just been saying. When he talked to Michael Vaughan on his podcast, which I think went out this week. I was on it a couple of weeks ago and got myself into trouble. But I mean, Harsha, when he talked about it, it was brilliant. You've got to listen to what Harsha was saying. This is their way out of poverty. Single parent families like Jasprit Bumrahs, like Virat Kohli's. I think he said, I'm not sure who else he said, but we've all heard the story of Yashasri Jaiswal. I mean, this is their way out of poverty. He basically said, without saying it, that English cricket is soft. Some of English cricket is soft. It's too entitled. It's too much on a plate. It's too much getting looked after. It's too much pampered. And these Indian players, it's their way out of poverty. It's their way out of hardship from a life point of view and a normal job which pays nothing. And this is their way out. 1.3 billion people in a country. So to finish off from the tournament point of view, there was a record number of people who went to the games. There's a record number of people who watched the games. The amount of money that it's probably generated, 20 teams in the tournament, I think worked, but I think it's only going to work for T20 cricket. And I think it's important that it stays with T20 cricket. And the money that this tournament's made, hopefully, it goes to all four corners of the world to increase the participation of the game. If that does, and it reaches, and it's great, then I'm all for India basically ruling the world, because we want the game of cricket to be watched and loved by everybody. But the political side of it at this moment in time, I think, is teetering. And what's happened between India and Bangladesh and Pakistan, I think it needs somebody to stand up and, like we said before, adults in a room to take control in that stake to make sure that this doesn't happen again. Because I think we've had a positive outcome in this series, in this T20 World Cup, where I'm not so sure 4 weeks ago that we thought it was going to end quite positively, did we? Has it been a positive outcome? Let's wait and see. But I think the numbers, the financial reward that's been pushed back into the game, hopefully will help India, Pakistan and Bangladesh have a conversation and try and get to a good situation.
Yeah, I mean, Harsha Bogle said, when you fail as an Indian cricketer, you see your life disappearing before your opportunity to escape the doldrums, as you were mentioning. And he says, for England cricketers, when they fail, they can just go to Noosa for a beer and everything carries on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so torn. I don't know where to go with Brendon anymore. I really don't. It's such a difficult one, because I don't want to see anybody lose their job. I don't want to see Brendon lose his job. I think he's a brilliant person. I think he's a good coach. I think it's the right time. I think this would be the right time for England to move on. And I say that with all respect for the man, for what he's brought to English cricket. And I say it with gritted teeth and a lot of reluctance. But I think what happened in Australia, from the minute they landed in New Zealand till the minute the game finished in Sydney, I think if you look at that in isolation alone, I don't see how anybody keeps their job. And that's my only gripe with Brendon McCullum. The preparation side of it's before and different tours, that I've got no problem with that. This is the way they want to. This is the way they want to go about their job. This is the way they want to prepare. This is where they want to get it right. I mean, everybody does it differently, and I've got no problem with that. I can't see too much changing. They talked about this in the series. So after the third test, when England lost, they owned up that they might have made the mistakes of possibly preparation. They didn't get it quite right. They didn't get a lot quite right, and they owned them up. Do I see them changing? Do I see what they got wrong, putting right? I'm not so sure. I listened to what he said afterwards, and I would have said exactly the same thing if I was Brendon. This is the way he is. This is the way he builds his team. This is the way his teams. This is the way his dressing room environment is. When he says people think it's a cozy club and it's relaxed and it doesn't do the work, I think they do the work. I've got no problem. I think we've seen the manners. We were in New Zealand. Me and you were in India. We've seen them do the work. They work very, very hard to this group. And I don't mind the relaxed environment. I really don't. Try and take pressure off your players. But there was so much went wrong in that Ashes trip, whether it was preparation, whether it was selection, whether it was behaviour on the field, off the field. These are the coaches' domain. And for that very reason, I'm not looking at Ashes at home. I'm not looking at India at home or away. I'm making my decision and making my call and making my judgment off this one Ashes series. And when people say we always go to Australia, we always get beat, and we always change things, I think this time it's different. I think it's very, very different. And I think that, unfortunately, like I said before, with grey teeth, I would make a call and say I'd definitely change the Red Bull side of it, possibly change the whole thing. And it might not be a popular opinion, and Brendon, I'm sure, would not like that. But I'm not. There's no personal things to me here. I say this as somebody who has a huge amount of affection and respect for what Brendon McCullum has done for English cricket. I just think in that big moment, I think they got it so badly wrong. And unfortunately, somebody has to carry the accountability side of it, and that would be the coach.
Okay, let's hear one of the more predictable quotes from England's white ball captain, Harry Brook.
I've said plenty of times he's the best coach I've ever had, best head coach I've ever had. The way that he speaks to everybody, the way that he's got an aura in the dressing room, everybody looks up to him, and the things that he did in the game as a player was unbelievable, and he just carried that into his coaching. The things that he's done over the 4 years that he's took over has changed English cricket for hopefully for the best, and yeah, like I said, he's the best head coach I've ever had.
That's England white ball captain Harry Brook. Very often when a captain or a senior player is asked about a coach who he doesn't support, he says, well, it's not up to me. It's not my decision. You kind of know then that, but Harry Brook very, very much backing Brendon McCullum to stay on. It's very sometimes unkind and misleading to read a quote because you miss the nuance of the expression. But we haven't got this one recorded. But just listen to that quote that you were alluding to. This is from McCullum. There's probably a perception that we run a casual operation. It couldn't be further from the truth. We run an informal operation, but the work is done. The preparation is put in place. There's an environment which operates in a certain way. And because you are relaxed around that doesn't mean that the work is not being done. See, there's a few things that stick in the mind. I want to say, Harmy, like you, when I first encountered Brendon McCullum and New England, I was absolutely blown away. I'd never seen a team more enjoying themselves more at training, at practice. You know, there was absolutely no sense of going through the motions, and, you know, they had music playing and that they were enjoying their work. And it was refreshing and it was invigorating, and it's something I hadn't seen before in almost 30 years of covering cricket. But there's still a few things that stick in the throat. There, in the middle of that, we run an informal operation. This is England. It's the England cricket team. You're paid a lot of money, which is one thing, but you're also representing a lot of people who pay a lot of money to come and watch you, and it's a multi-million-pound business. Why are you running an informal operation?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more with what you're saying there. We're elite. I mean, should be an elite. We are an elite sports team. This is the thing. I mean, a very good friend of mine, one of my sort of close mates. He's a football agent, and I've known him for the best part of 25, 30 years. He's done in all different sports, across all sports, and he keeps having a go at me. And he keeps having a go at me and going, yeah, but you should be elite. English cricket is not elite. And when I dive down deep into that, and I try and shake my head and go, well, cricket has never been like that. I mean, it's always had a drinking culture, but there's always been an enjoyable element at the end of a game. He kept me going, why? I mean, Simon Jordan did it throughout the Ashes, exactly the same as what my mate was trying to, one of my best mates was trying to say. It's like, this is the England cricket team. You're getting paid a hell of a lot of money. There's a lot of money in cricket now. You should be elite. So when you talk about the drinking culture and alcohol that comes in, and like I said before, I went on that podcast a few weeks ago and talked about Mark Wood. And I used the wrong choice of words, and I should apologize for using the neglect word. And I shouldn't have said that. But what I meant was that the medical side of the England cricket team, I mean, it's an elite sports team. Jofra Archer has played minimal amount of cricket in 5 years. Mark Wood's played minimal amount of cricket in 4 or 5 years. Even Ben Stokes, when he was injured, they didn't quite get that right. They're an elite sports team. England cricket are, this is from a financial point of view, there's a lot of money involved with Test match, one day, and T20 cricket. And I keep using the same terminology. Would Pep Guardiola be without Erling Haaland and have him play minimal games in 5 years? No, because they're Premier League. The Premier League's elite. There's a lot of money involved. You get your players back in. And I understand the franchise world has changed in the landscape of cricket. But if you've got a contracted player, you make sure that contracted player is doing things properly. You make sure that contracted player is making your team better. And at this minute in time, I look at the England cricket team, and McCullum saying he runs an informal ship. I mean, these guys are getting paid a lot of money for an informal ship. And I understand what he's trying to say. And it's not a poor choice of words or anything. He's basically trying to say, look, it's your career. We want you to enjoy what you're doing. But I think the informal bit, when he first came in, worked brilliantly. And it worked brilliantly because he had the likes of Bairstow, he had the likes of Anderson, he had Broad, he had Wokes, he had players who knew their game.
And it was post-COVID.
And it was post-COVID, yeah. It was post-COVID. And, you were picking the pieces up of what happened before COVID. But he had players who knew their game, coupled with the fact he had Root and he had Stokes, and one or two others. Now he's got six batters in a say top 7. Jamie Smith's numbers are going downhill as well. He's got 3 of them averaging 34 or less. You can't just throw a team together and say, right, there's an informal ship. And I think all that coming together is why I think I'd make a change. Would you want somebody like a Justin Langer coming in and suffocating the team? Probably not. Would you want Andy Flower coming in? Andy Flower in the Test job when I was involved, and that's a long, long time ago, as Kevin Peterson famously said, would suffocate the group. So, but there has to be a middle ground and a middle balance, because at this moment in time, this informal ship can't put 2 balls in the right place together, can't get your Premier League fast bowlers on the park for long enough, and you've got 3 batters in the top 6 averaging 34 or less. So if that's an informal group, something needs to change.
Let's talk about the 150th anniversary test between England and Australia. The Barmy Army want to turn it into an Ashes test. Well, to tell us more, here's Chris Millard, Managing Director of the Barmy Army. Harmy had a huge smile on his face when he heard about this, Chris. So, go on then, Harmy. Ask him what he's on about.
Yeah, I mean, an Ashes test. I mean, for somebody who's played in 4 Ashes series, I mean, I don't know. I think pink ball needs to be thrown out, because I think they're getting that right. And I think the Ashes part of it is the endurance, the to and fro, the back and forward of 2 teams going hard for 7.5 weeks. So when I seen that, I was like, what are they on about? An Ashes test? But tell us more, because I was a little bit taken back and thinking, right, I was actually going to ring you and think, we got it right here. I mean, Ashes is where you make all your money over 7.5 weeks. But do you really want it to be an Ashes test, especially if it's a pink ball game where the game's going to be won about 15 minutes before the game starts.
Yeah. You make a very valid point, Harmy, but I think we sit here at Barmy Army Towers and we think about how to make the game more engaging and how to bring more people to an event like the 150th. And whilst it provides great narrative being the 150th anniversary of England versus Australia, you're right, it is a pink ball test in March in Melbourne. And we obviously want to take as many people as we can to support the lads and get the win over the line. And we thought, what better way than to start a campaign saying, right, the Aussies are the holders of the Ashes, unfortunately. And we think there's one test match. It's a few weeks before we'll play the Ashes again back in the UK. Why not stick it all on the line for one test, have a big slog over 3 days where you never know, we might come out on top, win the Ashes in Australia. All right, it was one test, but we don't need to get into the nitty gritty. Win the Ashes, come back to England. It's a bigger occasion when it's back in the UK. It just means more to everyone then.
Yeah, I mean, does it not make more sense for Australia to have a day game with the amount of people that the Barmy Army are gonna bring over? Because we're not going to be. I know Barmy Army start drinking at 9 o'clock in the morning, but if the game finishes at 7 o'clock, surely the tourism of Melbourne will want to maximise the night time and not have people streaming out of the ground at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, I think the thinking behind it is that they want it to be better for the UK audience as well in terms of the day-night viewership over there in the UK. But you are right, for the travelling fan, I'd say 85% of people that travel prefer day cricket. You enjoy going out. You know what it's like on tour. The nightlife is part of what makes it all so special. You see the hustle and bustle of the cities and so many fans back and forth. But we know it might only last 2 or 3 days with it being a day-night test as well. So there's still plenty of time to take in the sights of Melbourne. There might even be a Grand Prix the week after as well.
Be good.
Yeah.
Oh, Chris, we might come back to that, but in case we run out of time, if you're like me and Harmy, we get asked what we think about Brendon McCullum and his future and whether he should carry on, and sometimes, often actually, the people who have their finger closest to the pulse are people like you, because you deal a lot more with people who pay real money to follow the England team. So I'm desperate to know what you, as managing director of the Barmy Army, spokesman for the people, think about Brendon McCullum's future and whether, I know everybody was very disappointed, that's putting it mildly, in Australia, but your thoughts?
It's a really tricky one because we were so excited about this Ashes series because of him and because of Ben Stokes. So it's very easy to forget how excited we were pre-Ashes because of how good in theory the England Test team were and how they always took it to the opposition. And I think we saw a little bit of admittance from Brendon McCullum saying that they didn't think they played the style of cricket that they had been playing in Australia. And I think that was the most frustrating thing for everyone, the England fans, to go down the way they did without the character that we've seen on all of the previous series when it's been Brendon and Ben. So I think from an English fan's perspective, it was incredibly disappointing. We worked towards Ashes, 4-year cycles, away Ashes, that's the big one. Harmy knows more than anyone. And to go down the way we did was shocking. But you know what? I think there would be a lot of England fans disappointed to see him go in the short term, especially with, I guess, the foundations of how powerfully the boys really look up to him and think about him. You heard Harry Brooks' comments, you know what Ben Stokes thinks to him as well. And that feeling is definitely shared in the dressing room. And the England fans, we support the players first and foremost. And whilst they're all on board and singing to the tune of Brendon, then we will be right behind them.
Yeah, I get that. I must admit, I've said he should go because of what happened with Australia, but I'm saying it with gritted teeth because of how positive he's been for English cricket over the course of a 4-year period and not just a sort of 8-week debacle. Have you had much, Chris? Have you had much interest in this ping ball test match? I would imagine, 100,000 people in Melbourne, there'll be a lot of English fans going over nicely, especially if there is a Grand Prix tagged onto the back of it.
Yeah, exactly. That extra carrot of the Grand Prix will make it very special indeed. But there is a lot of interest. Obviously, it comes at a time where England overseas cricket is really good for the travelling fan. So we've just been to South Africa, hopefully beat the World Test champions in their own backyard, and then spinning out into a 150th anniversary Ashes on the line Test match, it'd be a pretty special few months for the England fan that likes to travel. But ultimately, it is a tricky time, that in between period. So we're hoping there'll be a lot of people there, but we're still yet to see it coming through. Flights aren't in range yet, so that'll be happening in the next few weeks.
Many thanks indeed for your time, Chris. So I don't think that the 150th anniversary test will be an Ashes test, but nice try.
We'll keep trying, don't you worry. We'll keep banging the drum.
Keep banging that drum, my friend. Keep banging it. More interest on it, more people on it. Actually, I just want to ask you, how did the Ashes go from, a Barmy Army point of view and the wider range of the other touring groups as well? Because there's a lot of touring groups now go and follow this England cricket team. Was it as good as you thought it was going to be?
Yeah, it's the biggest. I think it's the biggest overseas England cricket tour of all time. In terms of data, what we've got certainly suggests that there's over 500 million Australian dollars put in circulation during the 7 weeks, which is incredible. The only people to shift interest in Australia before is Taylor Swift and the Barmy Army. So it's been reported in the press that inflation has increased because of the Ashes tour. So you know what, in terms of how it went for everyone who travelled over there, they had an amazing time. We won a test match. Let's not forget that. We won a test match in Australia, which is never easy. So we take the wins, and the 3,500 people we had travelling with us had a very special time.
Right, moving on to any other business, Harmy. Hampshire have signed Jayden Seales as a replacement for Michael Neser, whose stint at Hampshire was cancelled by Cricket Australia. That's not the first time that's happened. It's actually quite a hazardous, quite a hazardous business, isn't it? It's a bit risky signing an Australian with a central contract.
It is, but I'm very surprised at the age of Michael Neser that they've done that. Because how many more games is Michael Neser going to play for Australia? I think when Hampshire signed Michael Neser, I think they might have thought his days of playing international cricket for Australia might have been closer to the end than the start. So we would get, if it was a young fast bowler, then no chance. But we heard Anthony McGrath talk about it last week, about the importance of a good overseas player. Well, Michael Neser is a very, very good overseas player. Like we've seen, great character. That's a big body blow. But Jayden Seales, like we've seen at Sussex, he's all in, he's all singing, all dancing. He will give everything he possibly can for that first half. So they've got a good bowler, but I think the Michael Neser all-rounder, I think when Hampshire members seen that, I think they've been licking the lips and thinking we've got a good one here. So I'm very, very surprised that Cricket Australia and Michael Neser has sort of have cut ties with that deal, because do you know what? I mean, if I was Michael Neser, I'd be thinking, how many more Australian caps am I going to get? And I only get them when the lights are on. So you might get a chance to play in the 150th Test match. You never know.
And finally, before the final word, Mick Hunt passing away, Harmy. I think he fell just a couple of months short of 50 years on the Lord's ground staff. I mean, anybody in that period of time that covered a Test match at Lord's eventually got to meet him. I thought he was the epitome of everything good about a groundsman, a head groundsman. He could be gruff and grumpy, but always with the kindest of hearts. I mean, you must have met him loads.
Yeah, Mick, great man, Mick. So sad when I seen the news. I was actually quite surprised. Quite took back when I seen the home of cricket tweet. He was a one-off, was Mick. He was a one-off. Him and Ian Gould. I mean, their Cockney accent, Cockney slang. They did not care a jot about the establishment, which I thought was brilliant. I mean, we talk about chief executive pitches all over the country and trying to get them into fourth and fifth tiers. Mick produced the best pitch he possibly could, and he was going to be dictated to by nobody. A great man who had Lord's looking a picture every single year. Every single year, Lord's looked a picture postcard. Every time you see in the postcards in the souvenir shop, and they looked amazing. That's what Lord's looked like. And it was largely down to Mick, and he was a good man. He was a He was a friend of the cricketers and not of the establishments, was what I loved even better, because he could not care about anything other than producing the best pitch, the best looking outfield, and having, the best game of cricket that he possibly could. And he'd be a big miss. He sadly missed when he stepped away from being head groundsman at Lords. And it's so sad he's passing. So he's when I seen that the other day, it was a real tearjerker, because he's a good man, Mick Hunt.
Harmy, Central Stags bowler Brent Randall has been something of an internet sensation this week after becoming the first player in the 254-year history of first-class cricket to take 5 wickets in 5 balls against Northern Districts. He took 7 for 25, but 5 in 5. I assume that you've seen the clip, because it would have been sent to you. But I mean, he didn't have anyone caught at third man. They were good balls.
No, they were good balls in good areas, but I questioned some of the batting, especially some of the leaving. I mean, knowing where your off stump is. I mean, you're taught to very, very early in your career to know where your off stump is as a batter. And I think two of the slip catches, two of the nicks, the forward press was I know where my off stump is, and I'm covering it as much as I possibly can. So I'm going to come out even further. And he managed to drag his length back and get the nicks. No, fantastic bowling it was. He literally bowled, the way you'd want to bowl in first class cricket. You're teaching a young kid to bowl. You bowl in and around the top of off stump, fourth stump, 6 inches higher, 6 inches wider, 6 inches, inside, and you work in that little square. And if you can get the ball to go over the stumps, great. If you can get the ball to hit the top of off stump, even better. And if a batter is a little bit indecisive, he'll nick it. Basically what he did for 5 balls. The batters nicked them, the batters left them, and Brent picked up 5 and 5. So fantastic. Well done. Brilliant.
And with a footnote to Curtis Camphor and Kellis Ndlovu, who also took 5 wickets in 5 balls. Camphor did it in a domestic Ireland T20 game in July 2025, and Zimbabwe all-rounder Kellis Ndlovu doing it in a women's under-19 T20 game in 2024, but it wasn't first class. So Brent Randall, keep an eye on him.